Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
I've been doing these a little bit more often recently. Compliment sandwich. You're familiar with the concept, right?
A what sandwich?
Compliment sandwich.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, you give a compliment, criticism, compliment.
Right.
That's what I love about Buzz Williams' teams. They play freaking hard. Okay?
Yeah.
They play hard. And great guys.
They are that.
Great guys. And a team that does get better typically as the year rolls around.
They always have. You know,
Right?
February comes along and they go on a surge.
So that's the top bun. The middle. Yesterday's game is a rinse and repeat. I've seen that game before. Cold stretches, double-digit leads, not being able to score. I've seen that before. And I don't know what the remedy is, but this is, since I've been here, every year they have games like this and stretches like this where the offense struggles to score. But I really do like the culture. There you go. There's the compliment sandwich.
Yeah, I would like to have seen some timeouts when things started going bad, and I would like to have seen more ball movement. It seemed like when they went from up 10 to down 4.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like there was a lot of forced shots, not necessarily what I would consider good shots.
Yep.
I wish they would have taken a timeout and discussed it and said, hey, if we're going to take a bad shot, let's have WED Taylor taking it.
Yep. It's I don't know, man. It's like I've watched that game and I'm watching it unfold, and I'm telling my kids. Not that I didn't think they could win the game. I still thought they could win the game, right? But I'm just like, God, here it goes.
Here it goes.
But by the way, and this is a true statement about basketball. Not no lead. Most leads are not safe in basketball. I recognize that, right? Like I recognize you could be up 20 in basketball. 10 minutes later, a team's got, within 4. I get that. That part's not where, but the way these games seem to go, the cold stretches, right? That's more it.
Yeah, you almost wait for it.
Yeah.
Anticipate it. Like, the season opener against Central Florida. You're up 9 with 4 minutes to go, and you don't score or you don't get any field goals, right? And then this game, you're up 10. There's still 9 minutes to go, so it's by no means should you have been comfortable. But then to go into this stretch and you're up by 10, and then you lose by 10.
Within what? 13 minutes?
9.
9 minutes? That's and honestly, when I was watching, I was like, man, even though in the back of my mind, I was like, when's the cold stretch coming? That's what I was thinking. But I was like, this could be a very impressive win. You win by double digits against Oregon, you're going to feel good.
Yeah, and we talked about this. My thought was that this Texas A&M basketball team is a good basketball team that will play in the NCAA tournament. These early games are going to help decide how high you're going to be seeded.
Yeah.
And, this is one of those games that if you'd won it later in the year, it may really look like a really big win for you, and you let one get away.
You let one get away. You've let 2 get away now.
Yeah.
But
I don't know that, and it may be the case. I don't know if come March, if you're looking at Central Florida and saying, man, what a big game that was.
But I hope
because I don't know how good Central Florida is going to be, but Oregon's projected to be pretty good.
Sure, but also conversely, we don't know how bad Central Florida might end up being.
Sure, it makes and that hurt you last year too. So they got to figure out what it is and start closing out these great opportunities. I know they did it at home against Ohio State, but it does happen more often than
It just becomes predictable.
When you get to the point where you are almost anticipating, you say, okay, with every shot, okay, good. You know, you're thinking it's putting off the slump.
And here's something I'll say, which people don't like when I give both sides of it, but I'm going to be me. This team, you don't ever give up on this team, right? Because they always do find their way. But I think what we had hoped, OB, was that a veteran team with players that have been here for years, right? Like they know this, like the ramp up time wouldn't take as long.
Right.
And the ramp up time, yes, higher quality opponent. I get that. And
if you want to be a good championship caliber opponent, I mean, a program, that means you beat good opponents. You can't just beat the bad ones. And they beat a good one in Ohio State, but you had a great opportunity last night, 10-point lead, 9 minutes ago, and you let it get away. And a big part of it was just, ridiculous turnovers.
Yeah.
You're forcing things instead of letting the game come to you, missing wide open shots.
And I'm not going to call this next game a must-win because we're in the first month of the season. But, buddy, if you go down 0-2 with come back 1-2 or 0-3, God forbid, it's going to sting for a while.
Yeah, well, it's stinging today, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is stinging today. OB, we got football this week, though. I don't know if you knew that. There's a bunch of games.
I was aware.
They call it the Rivalry Week or something
Rivalry
like that.
Week?
Oh, Rivalry Week, yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a Revelry Week.
Yeah, it's so we got some games to watch, and I'm going to turn the page and go to the back and start off with your number 5 game that you want to watch.
Yeah, well, I would be interested in watching Oklahoma and LSU just because I want to see which fan base is going to hate their coach the most after that game's over with. Brent Venables got some grace back last week with that huge upset of Alabama, but you know how fans are. It's what have you done for me lately?
Yep.
And Brian Kelly, I happen to know because I know someone very close to the LSU program, and the LSU fans are very upset with Brian Kelly.
They're very upset, yeah. I don't know who I want to win. I kind of want LSU to lose.
Yeah.
But I also don't want Oklahoma. Well, I don't care. Like, whatever. Like,
here's what I would do. I would say, hey, OU, I'm going to give you my allegiance for one game because the favor you did for the Aggies last week.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it. There's also a part of me that says one night out of 11 that they look like that.
Probably.
So, but yeah, I like your thinking. OU, good luck to you, buddies.
Good luck to you, Sooners. Okay. How about Notre Dame at USC? I know that this game doesn't mean really anything. Notre Dame's going to be in the playoff. USC's going nowhere. But it's still a traditional rivalry. And traditional rivalries, some bizarre things happen sometimes. So I think just because of the spectacle that a rivalry is, that cross-country rivalry, I think that's worth your time to see.
Yeah, I'm interested in it. And I'm kind of rooting for Notre Dame. Kind of rooting for them, yeah. I don't know why.
I don't know either.
I hated week 1, but
because Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I don't like Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
I must admit, this is going to bother you. I know it's going to bother you because you hate uniform talk. I kind of like the Notre Dame uniforms this year. They've been kind of shiny and cool.
I like their helmets.
Yeah, the helmets are cool. But I mean, if that's not why I'm picking them, I just or hoping for them because they beat A&M. Because I don't like USC. I don't like Lincoln Riley. I should say. I want Notre Dame to win.
Yeah, I don't ever find myself rooting for Lincoln Riley unless it would help A&M, and I don't know how this could help A&M. So I don't care.
Rivalry week.
Yeah, it is rivalry. How about Michigan, Ohio State? Again, Ohio State has a lot to play for. Michigan doesn't.
Right.
Except that it's
their rival.
It's their big rival.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I think you always watch Michigan and Ohio State, right?
Yeah, of course.
And if Michigan somehow pulled off the upset, then Ohio State most likely will be out of the Big Ten championship game.
But they'll
still be in the playoffs.
They'll be in the playoffs. I think most one-loss teams at this point, if they were to lose, even the team that A&M is going to play, are probably in the playoffs regardless of what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, how about this one? How interested are you of South Carolina and Clemson?
Another one.
Really nasty rivalry.
So part of me's rooting for Clemson because they beat A&M, but I don't want them to have a 9-3 record and A&M have a 9-3 record. There's that kind of thinking. I like Dabo Swinney. I don't think they're very good, but like they're at home. We're picking a lot of allegiances today. I like Dabo, but I like Shane Beamer.
Shane Beamer just kind of rubs me the wrong way. He seems like a nice guy, but maybe in an Eddie Haskell type of way.
Sure. You know who's rubbing people the wrong way recently?
Who?
This year, at least. Eli Drinkowitz.
Yeah.
People are like, remember his act? People liked it in the beginning. I think social media has turned on him.
I still like him, but I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. So I'm going to be really interested in Clemson still has hopes of, they would have to beat, it doesn't, of getting into the tournament, the playoff. But they'd probably have to get into the.
They would need for Miami or.
They need Miami to lose.
Or SMU?
No, I think SMU's in the ACC champ.
Yeah.
So they need, they count on Miami to lose. So I can't even remember who Miami's playing. So, so they're an outside shot. I'm talking about Clemson of getting into the playoff. I don't think they will, but they can be completely out of it if South Carolina beats them. What a season for South Carolina!
Heck yeah, yeah. And then the game that we've been talking about,
the whole nation,
the whole world.
Yeah, Texas and Texas A&M. Bitter rivalry renewed.
Yeah, it's
SEC championship game appearance is on the.
If you
on
are
the line.
so that look, there's a bunch of, and I will put myself sometimes in this category, moody Aggies right now, right?
Uh-huh.
That like they're looking forward to the game, but they're such in a bad funk because of what has happened the last two SEC games. They can't really enjoy the moment very much right now. But around the world, people are not thinking about A&M's loss to Auburn. They're not thinking about Texas's soft schedule. I mean, they may be thinking about it, but they're looking forward to the renewed rivalry. And oh, by the way, the winner with a trip to Atlanta. That's a playoff game to me.
Well, it is. It is. I think one of the players said it this week. Said that it's already a playoff. So A&M because of Oklahoma, got a second chance at a possibility to get into the SEC championship game. They just have to beat Texas. But you know what? Texas has to beat A&M. And A&M's a good football team that hasn't played well lately.
Yep.
But they're at home. And I don't get the sense that there's the same kind of bitterness among the players that there used to be. I think that'll come in time. But there's so much at stake that, I would anticipate seeing both teams play their best.
I was talking to a player the other day, and they watched back the film, and they're like, this play here we could have had, this play here we could have had, and how different the season could look.
Right, and that's so much frustrating. So start making those plays. Make those plays Saturday.
Yep. But the football god said this, hey, I understand you've had a little rough patch, but we're going to give you a mulligan. You get one more chance to go to the SEC championship.
Take advantage of it. You don't often get second chances, so you got one. So we'll see if the Aggies can take advantage of it. What a game. No telling what kind of ratings that game's going to draw.
It's going to be crazy. What's the name of this show?
This particular show?
Like the entire 3-hour presentation.
TexAgs Live.
And that's presented by?
David Gardner Jewelers.
In the?
Rollo Insurance Studios.
During the?
Go Hour, presented by CC Creation.
That's correct. But currently, we're in an area.
The cool zone.
It's so cool here, isn't it?
It is cool.
I like when people talk about like our ads. Holistic planning, investment, tax, estate, and what else can they do?
They can
help you.
They can help you invest in pro sports.
There's a website, very easy to remember, investinprosports.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call us up, 979-693-1150. We will pick it up on the Boss Firearms Hotline, or you can text us on the Little Sluggers text line, 979-693-1150. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. We say hi to Nick Savage, who is behind the glass. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Well, disappointing result with basketball, but the good chance is you get a chance to, turn the page today and pick up a ranked win. It'll be a ranked win on the schedule, so, just kind of have to turn the page. And as the days go by, I just get more and more excited about this game. Nana Abudi-Owusu, the 12th man, he was in here yesterday, and just listening to him talk about it and how excited he is and how he expects the atmosphere to be is going to be intense. And how cool for all those guys, right? To be able to run out for the first time in 13 years and most likely in front of a record crowd at Kyle Field, I'd be willing to bet. So just super excited for it.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to feel like pregame, right? That walk to the stadium, the Aggie Park. What do you think that's going to feel
I think there's going to be all kinds of energy, electricity.
Yeah. Will we see Longhorns and Aggies hugging?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No. I mean, you're going to see some getting along.
A husband and a wife.
I mean, like, Lucci's sister is a Longhorn.
She's great.
Right? So, but I wouldn't be one of those Longhorn fans that are making, that come in and I've heard some of the stories about just the derogatory things they'll say to somebody, because this might not be the time to do that.
Yeah, I agree. My buddy Raheel, I think you've heard me talk about Raheel. He'll be in attendance. He'll be in the press box. So, and he's one that I like. But if he starts talking smack, I will choke him out.
I have tons of friends that went to Texas. Yeah, tons of them. But this is going to be one game where you need to come over with respect, because you're going to be grossly outnumbered.
And I'll say this. If we win, I don't need to trash talk, but I will smile. I will smile a lot for days, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm, look at no traffic today.
I had a friend back in Tennessee, and Cal was playing at Tennessee that year. And his wife's had a friend who was living out in the Bay Area, and she and her boyfriend came to go to the game. And so they were down, and this guy is a Cal fan, and he was talking a lot of trash.
Yeah.
To Tennessee people are just walking by, and finally, so much so that the guy I knew finally said to him, said, "Look, just want you to know, when one of these rednecks have had enough, you're on your own." And I think it's going to be kind of the same kind of atmosphere.
Right.
You don't want to come over talking too much garbage, because if you cross the line, you might be hard to see the rest of the game. I think there's going to be there's still a lot of, maybe not bitterness among the players, but I know there's still a lot of bitterness among the fan bases.
Hey, let's go to the Angry Elephant Houston Social Center.
Let's do. There's going to be angry elephants, angry Longhorns,
definitely angry elephants. And that's where we find the Torniak, Caitlin
She doesn't
Torn.
look very angry.
No, she's a happy.
I'm not. I'm happy. I'm excited.
What are you happy about?
I'm excited for this weekend. The last time we played TU, I was 9. So excited to really get to experience my first one.
Wow, you're old. Do you remember that game?
I do remember, because that's the first time that I saw my dad cry.
Really?
So I do. That's what stuck.
Have you ever had a sports cry?
Not as an adult, but
as a child.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And though sometimes you get so angry, and I can imagine there was let's call it controversial call against Trent Hunter.
Yeah.
And I can see someone getting so angry at that call that allowed Texas to kick a field goal that it can move them that way, because they're just so angry.
I cried 92, Oilers Buffalo, 35-3 lead. I cried.
I might have laughed so hard I cried.
Yeah, I cried. I'm trying to think what else. I think I did. And I was almost an adult. I was in college when John Stockton hit the 3 on Charles Barkley in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals of 1997. I cried. So I'm a loser. Anyway, you got any reports for us?
We got a text from Marcia in College Station wishing everyone a very happy Thanksgiving.
Marcia, happy Thanksgiving. Have you broken a remote?
Marcia.
I've broken a remote in the last 10 years.
Oh, I've done things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You ever done that?
I haven't.
You've never it feels good until somebody gets mad at you and your family, like your dad.
Yeah.
I can relate to that, David. I've never cried about sports or anything like that, but I've definitely broken things and gotten angry, just like you said, until your wife tells you she's not going to talk to you for the rest of the night. You kind of like, okay, let's calm down a little bit. I've
kicked the trash can, and then there's trash all over the house, and that's happened as an adult. Like, yeah, I've got rage issues. Sorry, Torniak, finish up, please.
No, that's all. I've kicked a trash can before.
There we go.
I have done that.
And we're gonna kick some Longhorn, right?
I'll say ass.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's kids watching.
Well,
ask not what your country will do for you, but ask what your Aggies. Sorry, I don't know. Let's hit a break here, Obi, shall we?
Let's do.
We've got Schuberth.
Okay.
We got Leon O'Neal.
Leon.
All right.
Wake him up 9.
Well, I hope he's awake. 8:30. I said 8:30. He said yes. So we're going to find out. All right. So we'll have Leon and we'll have Tom Schuberth shows up like an hour early. He's like helping people. Like, can I file stuff for you? He's in the back working. Right now we're talking Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. You're going to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. And this week we've got Picksgiving. We've got the Tyreek Hill free pick. We've got discounts. We've got Black Friday, December dots. All these great things happening on PrizePicks.com. You pick the stats, more than or less than 2 to 6 players, stat projections. I forget the number. I think it was Marcel Reed. Rushing yards was put at 47.5 in that ballpark. Maybe it was 42.5.
Well, you got it right.
You think so? No, I'm saying this week. Yeah, I already picked the Texas game.
Yeah, I think I could see that.
Yeah.
I think Marshall's going to have to run.
More than. Do it. PrizePicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. Get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It's Prize Picks. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. You know, when I kid with you, it's because I love you, right?
Yeah, of course.
I called him a mafia boss walking in here because he looks like one of Sopranos' man. Tom Schuberth with us. Tom, yesterday's game, I would say, was predictable. And I hate saying that because I love those guys. Those players are awesome. They're really, really good. But there's something that happens offensively where they go on these droughts. And this is not a 1 or 2 game sample set. This is over the last few years. As a coach, what happens?
I think it's the same old story a little bit. It's Thanksgiving time, so I'm going to say this in kind of a coaching analogy. A lot of times as a player, you kind of have to be thankful for what you have and be thankful for what you don't have. So I think a lot of times when you build a lead as a coach and players and you do it the right way and you feel like it comes easy, then players sometimes have a tendency to maybe accept or take on a role that they're not great at or real comfortable. I'm not saying the players are doing that, but there are some hints of that happening when we get leads. We kind of play differently.
Yeah.
I heard you guys on the way in, and you know, when you have a great player or better players than others offensively, you kind of want to ride them, especially down the stretch. You build a lead, those are the guys that should help you, you know, take the most shots and win at the end. And I think sometimes we go away from that, whether that's not by design, I know. But, you know, players make mistakes, especially early in the year. They're still trying to find their roles, and they're competing for playing time. You know, guys want to play. This is a team that's super deep. I mean, I don't even know if Hefner got in yesterday in the ball game, and he had been an important part of our team for the last 4 years. So there's still some figuring out, and I don't know how long it'll take, but they're still a good basketball team, and they got a great opportunity, just like the football team this weekend. If they win their games, they're going to be in the NCAA tournament, and hope they draw a good team and go from there.
Yeah, I want to. So this is great to have you here as a coach because. So I'm frustrated. They're up 10. It looks to me like they forced a shot to get a turnover, and they don't take a timeout till I think the league got down to 1. Why not the timeout earlier? Or is the coach saying, "Hey, at this time of year, I just want to see how my guys react"? What's going on there? I know you don't care.
No, that's a great question. You know, so I used to call timeouts probably too soon. You know, you try to call a timeout before the average person can figure out you need a timeout if you know your team. But who knows their team better than Buzz Williams? Nobody. So he knows when he feels like they can fight through adversity without calling that 30-second or long timeout and talk to them. But if it doesn't work out when you don't call it, then you look back and you say, maybe I should have called it sooner. I agree with you. I like to stop the bleeding, you know, and call it. I'd rather call it sooner than later. So, but I don't think you like experiment and say, well, I'm just going to, you know, it's early in the year, I don't care. Okay. You're like, I think my team can fight through this. So it's easy to second guess. But yes, sometimes you need to settle down. As David said, I would like to see the best players take the right shots at the right time. That's how I would put when you have a lead. Because the opponent is trying to do the exact opposite. And I'll say it this way. I love the players and their roles, but sometimes opponents allow other players to take shots because they want them to take them. And even if they go in, they're not upset because they know in the long haul it's not going to beat them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what other gimmicks, and I hate using the word gimmicks, but what are other things that coaches do to stop a run? Yeah, there's timeouts. How ignite a team? Can a play that you have in your back pocket that you know, like, you know, what are some strategies that are used?
I mean, all those things you just mentioned, David, that's what makes the game great. It's such a fast-paced game that you got to try to figure out what I can do to stop the bleeding, as you say, or to motivate my team, get a good shot. You know, a lot of coaches go to a set play on offense, you know, that they feel like they know someone's going to get a good look. I mean, I think offenses are designed today because of the shot clock and the three-point line and how prevalent the three is. The first get a layup, you know, or an easy shot that you and I can make, or a three-pointer. You know, you kind of hit the interior to defense, try to get a simple high percentage shot. If that's not there, it leads to a three, or the other way around. You know, you try to play on the perimeter, similar to what Creighton will do today. They're really shoot the three well. Oregon doesn't, but they got a lot of threes yesterday because they were moving the ball. So I think you just have to have some set plays, and then you have to know the identity of your team, which, again, the coaching staff knows it better than us, and I think they'll figure it out as it goes. You just hate losing games when you're doing that.
Obi, let me follow up.
Yeah,
what does figure it out mean? Like, because to me, this is where I struggle. This team's been together. In today's college sports landscape, this team has got more experience than most. So figuring it out, to me, that's for a new team.
Correct. And sometimes having depth is the best thing possible, but it's come back to be a little bit of a curse because you're trying to figure out where to implement the guys at the right time. And the players are probably just as frustrated as we are, and coaching staff. They want to know, I used to tell my players, if you're unhappy with your playing time, come talk to me and ask me what you can do to get on the floor. And I think some of the players maybe don't know what they need to do. Maybe Solomon Washington or Anderson Garcia think they need to make threes and score. And I'm not picking on them, but I think you understand. There's still a figuring out process, but with the team as experienced as we are and the postseason success, they need to be operating probably at a higher level right now.
All right, so, we can express all the frustration, but how does A&M bounce back to play probably an even better team than they faced last night?
Well, I think preseason they were. Yeah, they've dropped their last two. Creighton has one of their star players is out. He got hurt against Nebraska. They dropped the home loss to Creighton did to Nebraska. And they have a 7-1 All-American Kalkbrenner who's at one time, David, was shooting 41 of 46 from the floor.
Wow.
That's amazing. But to answer your question, OB, I think they just need to play Aggie basketball, keep playing hard, not try to do anything tricky. The two games that the Aggies have lost, if they make maybe one key shot down the stretch, which is, again, a fine line, they're undefeated and maybe ranked in the top 10 right now. So it's not a lot they have to fix, but the problem is consistent, as you mentioned, David, and it keeps happening, and they need to somehow come up with a solution.
I wanted to see more Wade Taylor shooting there in the last 10 minutes because I'm thinking if I'm falling behind and even if I lose, at least I went down with my best guy taking more shots.
I agree totally, and I think most coaches do. And I'm not trying to be critical of the Aggies because they do a wonderful job, but that's what I say. The other players need to figure out, hey, this guy needs to get quality shots. So what can I do to help him get them? Because he does a good job in my mind, especially early in the game yesterday. I thought he did a nice job of deferring, getting some guys some looks. And then your best three-point shooters should take the most attempts. I mean, it's an easy solution,
Tom, let's close out with this because I think part of the frustration is not all on Aggie basketball. It's on just Aggie football and Aggie basketball, right? Because coming off a couple losses in the SEC football, coming off seasons where one play makes a difference here and one make the freaking that's and I know these players are so capable.
They are. I was listening about the football, and I have to say this, look at the season, how up and down it has been. But if you went to Coach Elko or any Aggie fan and said, before the season started, if you were playing the University of Texas on the last game to get in the SEC championship, would you take that? Of course. Was the formula to get there perfect? No. But what an opportunity. I think the same thing occurs with Aggie basketball every outing they have. If they play well in the key games and they win those or play good enough and then win the key games, they're in the NCAA tournament. And again, I don't know how Coach Williams, feels about it, but if you make the tournament, you've had a good year in basketball. If you don't make it, you've had a bad year. Do you guys agree with that? I mean, I think
that's how I look at it.
It should be a tournament team.
Yeah, you should be a tournament team. So, hey, let's do this. When the Aggies beat the Longhorns, OB is going to bring out his big checkbook, and we're going to go to eat at 1775. That's what we're going to do.
Can I go with you guys?
Yeah, you have to.
Celebration. This is a perfect.
Yeah,
I'll pay my own
You can even
way.
ride with us. No. OB said he's got it.
I got mine.
All right.
Okay.
I'm rolling in it, Tom.
He's rolling in the dough. All right. Maybe, and I'll pay for the beverages. All right.
Okay.
All right. Whatever water you want, I got you. But 1775. You haven't been yet, right?
I haven't.
You
Okay.
like barbecue?
I love barbecue.
Oh, it's great barbecue.
Do you like the military?
Of course.
All right, well,
Of course.
1775. That's where you go to get your food on. They're open not this Thursday, but most Thursdays from 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stotzer Parkway in College Station. The phone number, 979-492-6241. It's 1775txbbq.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. ESPN Houston, they're a radio station. I actually started with them before they were ESPN. They were 1560 the game when I was there. But they'll be in town on Friday for the A&M Texas Rivalry Week, presented by Rebecca Creek Distillery. It's happening Friday from 3 to 7 at one of our favorite places, the Angry Elephant. You love the Angry Elephant.
I do.
Joe George, who's a host out there, he's going to be doing the show from 3 to 7. I'll join him for a couple segments. It's at the Angry Elephant in South College Station. Go check it out. It'll be a fun event. ESPN Houston welcoming back the A&M Texas rivalry. So make sure you come hang out with us. I don't know what time I'll be on the show just yet, but I'll be there in the afternoon, and we can talk Aggie sports with the folks at ESPN Houston. Okay, OB. Hopefully everybody wakes up for this game, and we're ready to roll this A&M Texas game. We're trying to see if we're going to get a particular guest on the program. Maybe he hasn't woken up yet, but hopefully we'll get him here in a minute.
Okay.
I did want to follow up a comment that a question Tom Schuberth asked me. We were getting off the air, and he's like, "You think we're going to win?" And I said, and I think this is the most fair answer I can give. The A&M team that I saw for most of the season, yes, I do think they beat Texas. The A&M team I've seen since South Carolina, which obviously includes losses, loses this game. I take the LSU second half and I put it in a different category because that was just like, it was a video game. It was ridiculous. It was like Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl back in the day. Like, you couldn't stop Marcel Reed. It was just joon, 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 touchdown, joon, joon, joon.
Yeah.
So that to me is not a realistic, that's such a magical performance. I don't know if you can duplicate that. But if you can duplicate the things that I saw earlier in the year, I think in this stadium, with this crowd, with everything on the line, A&M wins that game. But that's going to require the defensive line to be the defensive line that we expected them to be, that for stretches of this season they have been. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, for stretches they haven't been. Yeah,
all that's true. One of the things that gives me some optimism is that Quinn Ewers doesn't throw a great deep ball. Now, he's really good on short passes and getting the ball to his guys where they can do something with it. Like if you're running 10 yards, he'll put it in front of them where you don't have to break stride, 10 yards downfield, and you catch it and make it a 40-yard game. But I'm not saying he can't throw deep. I've seen him do it against Alabama last year, right? But it's not the strength of his game. And that's where A&M has been vulnerable. The one against Auburn. Missouri had a deep one that they completed for a touchdown, had a deep one that got called back for a penalty, had a deep one open and didn't make it.
Correct.
Arkansas with the deep one.
On the third play of the game.
Right. So, that's something, but I think you're absolutely right. It has to start with that defensive line. It's supposed to be the strength of your team, playing like they're the strength of your team.
If they make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable, A&M wins this game. That's how I feel about it. And that might be too simple, right? Because I know that Texas has a great defensive line, and they can. And I'm not going to go through the schedule thing again, but based on the statistics and where guys are projected in the NFL draft, great defensive line. The 12 points a game is fantastic. But if A&M's defensive line gets after Quinn Ewers, and I think Georgia showed you kind of the recipe of what happens when you get after him. Mm-hmm. Now, A&M can't have the 3 turnovers that Carson Beck had. They don't have the offensive power or the talent offensively to overcome that. But if they can control the ball, and I'm adding an extra layer, control the ball, limit your turnovers, and get after Quinn Ewers on this magical place on November 30th, A&M, I think, will walk away with a victory. It's still a big if because I haven't seen that D-line recently.
Yeah, the defense has to come back and be what we thought it was going to be and what at times it has been. I feel really confident about what I'm seeing from Marcel.
Yeah.
I think Marcel just keeps getting better, and I think he'll be better against Texas in the decisions that he makes than he was against Auburn. I think he just gets better the more he plays. I hope Chase Basantes is back in the starting lineup. Look, I think the best thing A&M has going for it is that game's at Kyle Field.
Yeah.
And you did the stat, or somebody read the stat yesterday about the top teams in the SEC are 13 and 12 on the road. It's not an accident. I saw Texas go up to Vanderbilt. It's 27-24. Go up to Arkansas for an 11 a.m. game. It was in doubt in the fourth quarter. So I don't think there's any reason to not anticipate A&M being that game being just as competitive. I don't know if the Aggies win, but I know I'll take the points.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a close football game.
It's a line of scrimmage team, and it's a line of scrimmage game, right? But like the way Coach Elko wants to win is by controlling the line of scrimmage. And if of all games this year, control the line of scrimmage, and please control it in the fourth quarter.
You know, I wonder about how good the Texas offensive line is. I know we talked about that the other day. Banks might be the best offensive lineman in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were left tackle, I guess he is, Kelvin Banks.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely a first-round pick, no doubt about it. But beyond him, I just wonder how good they are beyond him. Because you talked about Georgia sacking, 7 sacks that they had against Ewers? And then I think Vanderbilt had 4 or 5 the next week.
Yep.
So teams have gotten to him.
They have gotten to him, but I was talking to a couple insiders this week. They have gotten better the last month of the season. I think the Georgia game, you know, obviously was an awakening, but they went back and they fixed some things. So
I guess.
Am I right? Did Georgia have 2 sacks on them? Or I can't remember the numbers. Oh, excuse me, Kentucky.
I think Kentucky might have had 2.
Okay. So there's a couple people on their offensive line. I'm trying to find the gentleman's name on the O-line that they're really high on beyond. It's don't have the name here. Oh, Cam Williams. So Cam Williams and Kelvin Banks. Those are that's the anchors of that offensive line. But again, A&M can counter hopefully with a healthy Chase Basantes.
Hopefully with a healthy Chase Basantes. I think they've been, again, the offensive line has been good all year.
Yep.
It needs to be great in that game. And that's what happens a lot of times. You play your rivalry game, a game that's important, and you raise your level of performance.
You do. Yep.
In these kind of games. So, hopefully they will, or at least get back to the level they were at previously.
Let's hit a break here. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it. We'll read some texts on the other side, 979-693-1150. It is TexAgs Live. We're talking Bird Dog now, an Aggie-owned and operated company creating hunting opportunities for hunters and, of course, for those ranchers. They streamline that booking process because they are basically an Airbnb for hunters. You pick your ranch, you pick your situation. They'll add on a lot of great stuff to it. You can have a great concert. You can add some fishing, some yoga, whatever you want for your group. It'll be great. Bring your buddies, bring your family, and go out for an awesome hunt. Let them take care of all the logistics for you. The website is birddogit.com. Birddogit.com. Go check it out. I think you're going to love it. I had a great time doing it. It's birddogit.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggie Land Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggie Land Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggie Land Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggieLandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin. I'm David. She is Caitlin. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Text messages, thoughts, and criticisms, critiques, and positivity.
Yes, we've had some text messages come in. David in Houston says, our coaching staff is offensively inept. Rebounding and free throws is not an offense. A team loaded with seniors and still a terrible offense. Maybe we can worry less about our average defense and actually practice scoring.
I promise I didn't write that. This is David in Houston.
Yes, David in Houston.
I'm in College Station. That wasn't me.
Where are you from?
I'm from H-Town.
Oh.
Represent. What's up, son?
David.
I'm from A-Leaf. No. I don't have a response. Like
it was a frustrating game.
Yeah.
And don't overreact.
Correct.
But
react.
React, don't over. But it was frustrating.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Be the team that got the 10-point lead.
That team's good.
Yeah.
That team can beat anybody.
Yeah.
PG Ag in King Oaks.
He's a great, swell fellow. I love him.
Yes, he says the Texas offense has benefited greatly from turnovers. Don't give them freebies. Make them drive the field. 17
interceptions on the year, I believe Texas has.
Yeah, they've got a lot of them. Marcel has had one, in 3 straight games?
Yep.
If not. But, just take care of the ball. I'm confident in Marcel. I think Marcel's one of the reasons to be confident about, one of the big reasons to be confident about this game.
And when the game is over, we're going to call him Big Game Marcel.
Okay.
Or something better than that. Something that's maybe.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll work on something. Big Game Marcel doesn't really work. But we hope he has a big game, OB.
Absolutely.
Torniak?
Yes, for the women's basketball team on Monday, Jada Malone had a career best of 26 points that led the women's basketball team to a victory over the Southern Miss Lady Eagles in the Battle for Atlantis action. This was the second best shooting percentage in program history for players with 10-plus attempts. She made 11 of 12 from the field, added 4 for 4 from the free throw line, had 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. And the Aggies will return to the court Wednesday, December 4th, after the Thanksgiving break to take on Syracuse as part of the SEC ACC arena.
Awesome stuff. OB, I'm going to read this. Randy on the YouTube page says, Sark likes to leave a running back in the flat for a check down after the wide receivers clear out. I feel like that's the place A&M has been vulnerable at times.
Yeah. But I have complete confidence in Mike Elko, and they're going to know the tendencies of Texas, and they're going to be scheming to take that away, or at least to be able to defend it. Now, are you going to hate to sound like Jimbo Fisher, but are those players going to be out there and execute it?
Got to execute, buddy.
Got to execute.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Tomorrow,
I got to go pick up some turkeys here.
Semi-new programming. Okay? OB and I will have a go hour for you tomorrow that you haven't seen yet. Billy and I will have something that you haven't seen yet. Jim Turner will have something that you haven't seen yet. Anything else, Nick? There's probably something else. Pablo Escobar will not be on the show.
Fan show.
Fan show. We'll have a fan show tomorrow. All that at Thanksgiving. So when you wake up, you can watch the parade or you can watch us. TexAgs Live. We'll be back with John Harris. John Harris, I'm not going to even do an intro. I'm just going to talk out loud. I feel like our teams, the Texans, the Aggies, are kind of in a similar like wavelength right now, a little funk. And I don't like the way it feels, to be honest with you. But for the Aggies, at least, I don't know if everything can be fixed in a game, but a lot can be fixed if they take care of business on Saturday night. Welcome to TexAgs Live, buddy.
It's a great. I'll add one more to that, David, because I think it's a great analogy. We both still, even with the way the teams are playing, we both have opportunities to win our conference or division.
Yep.
Like we're right. If I told you, Mark Vandermeer and I play this game a lot. If I had told you, David, the Ags are going to be 8-3, but Thanksgiving weekend, they're going to play Texas to go to the SEC championship game. Would you have taken it back in August?
100%.
Knowing nothing about the season, knowing nothing about it, you just know 8-3, and the Texas game is to go to the SEC championship. Would you have taken it?
100%.
Yeah, and I think it's in some sense, we all off season here in Houston. Would you take 10-7 with this schedule the Texans are facing this year? Would you take it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would. 10-7, you win the division, you get in the playoffs. Absolutely, I'll take it. We are right there where we need to be 10-7, and yet neither fan base is really happy. And if you're an Aggie/Texans fan, you're doubly not happy, especially after what happened last weekend, because that was a double kick in the junk with the 4 overtime loss to Auburn, and then a game against Tennessee in which Will Levis beat you, and Will Levis played well, and I'll give him credit for that. But you still should have won a game. You, in fact, had a touchdown that would have put you up 34-30, but because you have 2 men in motion, 2 veterans in motion, not 2 rookies, not 2 guys just learning the offense, 2 veterans moving, it takes a touchdown off the board, you miss a 28-yard field goal, and you get beat by a team that shouldn't beat you. The same with A&M. Now, I know A&M's game was on the road, and you and I talked about this last week. You knew I didn't feel comfortable about this game at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
I did not at all, because they had enough athletes to make it really, really difficult, and they did. And the athletes played. Cam Coleman was awesome. Jarquez Hunter is fantastic. Peyton Thorne did enough. And yet you were trudging through the mud, and that takes its toll on you physically. And then you go into 4 overtimes. And, obviously a drop pass in overtime just kind of shows you can't put the game in no pun intended, in those hands. You have to put a team away when you have opportunities. And neither the Texans nor the Aggies were able to do that last weekend. And that's a shame.
And Johnny, I think people would be a little more. Look, everybody recognizes this moment. This is an awesome opportunity. You're taking on your rival after 13 years. I think that is all true. But what people the brand of football that we've seen for large stretches, and to me it goes back even to the LSU game, because the first half of that LSU game was not good football. The South Carolina game for 3 quarters was not good football. The Auburn game for a half was not good football. You're down 21-0. And I think it's the lack of getting pressure on quarterbacks, or in the South Carolina game, they got pressure. They just couldn't make the tackles. Against Peyton Thorne, they didn't get anything. So, you're thinking to yourself, this team's identity is controlling the line of scrimmage, and I don't know if I'm seeing that.
Yeah, I agree with you, David. Absolutely. And, it's funny when you bring that up. I mean, the Texans have been the same exact way since the Patriots game. They've been good one half. And even before the Patriots game, played the Bills. I mean, we played one of the best 30 minutes of football we've ever played against the Bills in the first half. Couldn't do diddly squat in the second. Lions game. Looked like the number 1 team in the league in the first half. Blew a 16-point lead in the second half. The Cowboys game. Looked okay first half. Decent third quarter. Great fourth quarter. The other day against the Titans. A miserable first quarter after a tremendous start. A great second quarter until the end. And then nothing in the second half. It's a lack of 60-minute consistency that bothers me. And I've always said this. I would much rather have a team. Now, I would rather, if you rate a team a 1 to 10, I would much rather my team be a 7.5, 8 all the time. I know what to expect. As opposed to a 2 in the first half, a 9 in the second half, a 10 in the first half, a 3 in the second half. The inconsistency kills me. Absolutely kills me. Now, part of that is just me because I'm OCD, and I just like a nice, neat order of things. But that's what both our programs and organizations are giving us. We're giving us, hey, watch this 30 minutes. It's awesome. Turn away for the next 30 minutes. And it's frustrating. But it's also, I've tried to, as we've been talking, I've tried to think in my head, okay, what are the reasons for that? Well, in Houston, look, it's still a relatively young coaching staff, a young quarterback, offensive line that's not very good. A&M, first-year head coach at A&M. I know he's been there. Marcel's taken over. He's a first-year starting quarterback. There are going to be bumps in the road. But I think you said one thing that really kind of stood out is what is our identity? And are we establishing our identity all 60 minutes? And I think for us, defensively, we're doing that. We really are a swarm machine for 60 minutes. And when teams have gotten to us, now minus the game against Tennessee, that was an aberration that I was like weird. That's the weirdest game I've seen from our defensive perspective. We had 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a pick 6. And yet we gave up 278 yards to Will freaking Levis, who eats bananas with peels and puts mayonnaise in his coffee. Like, what the hell? But for the most part, the defensive identity has been a swarm identity all year. But because of the struggles that we've had on the offensive line, I think our offense has struggled to find an identity. I think for A&M, I think we know what the identity should be. With all those guys on the defensive front, it should be a dominant defensive front. Offensively, there should be balance and run pass, especially with Marcel at quarterback. And now he's throwing the ball much better than he did earlier in the season. And so it should be kind of a balanced mindset. And it just, for times, it just goes away. Now, look, injuries can change things. I mean, we obviously suffered injuries here with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, and that changed kind of offensively. It got us in a rut, and we're trying to get out of it. I think the same thing with A&M. And I wondered this watching the game the other night, and not just because, Daniels had the drop at the end. I think he played well. It was just drop. But how does that game change if Le'Veon's playing in it? Does it change? I mean, is the defense still going to give up 30, whatever it was, before you went into overtime? So to me, the struggles in my mind that I find are, my team not play like that for 60 minutes. Please just play like that for 60 minutes. Like, what is it, guys? What do we need to do to play like this for 60 minutes and then do this week in and week out? I think both organizations or both programs are going to get there. It may be 2025 because there are going to have to be some things I know in Houston that are going to have to change personnel-wise that we can't change. And I think some of the personnel that we can't change right now is changing the whole scope of what this team can do in 2024. A&M, I think, has the athletes. I just don't know health-wise if missing Le'Veon's going to be too much. Missing guys in the offensive line, if that's too much. So it's kind of the same thing. But, we go back to the very first thing I said. You still have everything you wanted in a season in front of you. Beat Texas, you go to the SEC championship game. For us, win a couple more games, we win the division and go to the playoffs. So everything that you want is right there. So can you find that consistency for 60 minutes to beat a really good football team on Saturday in College Station? I think they've got it in them. It's just a matter of, with all the emotion that's going to be there, can they regulate that and play for 60 minutes? And if they do, there's a good shot to beat a really good football team.
Johnny, where's Texas vulnerable?
Well, I think Texas can fall into ruts as well offensively. I think Ewers gets very flippant with his technique, and he can throw you one. I don't know that Texas, we talked all offseason about Texas, so the receivers are going to be just as good. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if, the loss of Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell has been fully realized. I think early on, you're like, oh, look, they just stepped right in. But now they're seeing that they miss a lot with those two game breakers. And so they have to rely on Gunnar Helm. And so I think that, I don't know if that plays in A&M's hands, but I just don't know that I trust Texas receivers to go out there and make plays consistently against A&M. Here's the other one. offensive line for Texas was absolutely brutal against Georgia. Brutal. Now, Georgia showed some different looks. But don't think that other teams haven't followed and tried to show some of the same looks. And I think if they can rattle Ewers, if Ewers is playing, maybe it's Arch, I don't know. If it's Arch, there's probably a little bit more concern about your pass rush lanes to make sure Arch doesn't take off and scramble. But if it's Ewers and he's a little banged up trying to play through it, I'm not as concerned about him scrambling, moving, all that kind of stuff. So I can let my defensive line pin its ears back. But I really think that offensive line is supposed to be great for Texas has really been average. And if A&M's defensive front plays at max volume, I think A&M's defensive line can take the game over because I think Texas has not been as good up front as they need to be. Now, defensively, you just can't. It's a really good secondary. They fly around. Jahdae Barron, they better have a plan for. Linebackers are fast and aggressive. And then the edges are really, really good. That's a Texas defense as good as I've seen in a while. They're deep, they're talented. So I think, and I don't want to say you play it like this, close to the vest, but I think a close to the vest game allows you to maybe in the fourth quarter get a drive going that puts you up 20-13, and then your defense takes over. Texas has been playing, pretty close games. Even the Kentucky game was close for a bit. So I think if this game stays close, then A&M be like, okay, this is maybe playing to our hands. We just need one drive, guys. One drive. And that ends up being the drive that puts you ahead 20-13, 24-17. And then you force Texas to have to chase at the end, and now you're pinning your ears back and really getting after Ewers or Arch or whomever. So I think Texas has vulnerabilities, especially offensively. Defensively, it's a tough nut to crack. There are going to be some 3-and-outs. There are going to be some 1 first down in a drive sort of situations. But you got to stick to your guns and know what your identity is for that game and stick to it against Texas defense.
So if Texas's offensive line has been average, what would you say A&M's defensive line has been this year?
At times, great. At times, ordinary. There have been times you watch and go, ooh, they're taking over this game, man. Holy cow. Then there are times that, hey, what's Nick doing? Nick's playing, right? I mean, 11's out there, right? Yeah. So this is a game where obviously you're going to be at full emotional throttle. So I would imagine everybody's going to show up and play. But across the board, I think when it's been good, it's been great. When it's been average, it's been And I think if the shows up, then I think Texas is going to win this football game, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
But I don't think that's going to happen. And I can't tell you, I've been leaning Texas A&M this whole time because I don't know about Ewers. And I just don't know that Texas offense has been all that impressive with him. And so if Arch comes in, do they start doing some quarterback run stuff? Does Arch, take A&M's playing man coverage and he takes off because there's a bad pass rush lane open and he takes off for a 40 or 50 yard gain and that leads to a cheap touchdown before the half or, at some time you're not expecting it. So I feel like A&M plays its offensive game from the second half the other night. The defense plays at full volume 9 or 10. I think A&M wins this as good as the SEC championship. I just don't believe Texas is that good. I thought they were. And then the way Georgia just hammered them, I thought, man, against good teams, can that offensive line hold up? That was supposed to be a really good offensive line. Now, if you're not seeing A&M get to the quarterback early, that's not going to be a good sign. That is not going to be a good sign. And that's going to force defensive staff to have to go, okay, we can't get there with our 4. With all these first-round draft picks, second-round draft picks, now we've got to bring pressure. That could end up being an issue. So you got to have success from the defensive line early to make you feel good about what A&M could do in this game to win it.
All right, Johnny, I was choking. I don't know why. Hey, what about Kyle Field? Sometimes when people talk about this magical place, first of all, I love hearing about it, but I think sometimes it's dismissed. On this evening, and dismissed by outsiders until they experience it. On this particular evening, I think that the 12th man is going to be the 12th man in this game. I think it's going to affect what happens in the outcome of this game.
I do. I think nationally, what didn't help Kyle Fields' reputation, I guess, was the fact that Notre Dame went in and beat them the first game of the year.
Yep.
at Kyle Field when there was all this talk about, well, Notre Dame has never seen this kind of environment, never seen it, and then all of a sudden they took over the fourth quarter. Now, Notre Dame has turned into a really good football team. I know they lost the next week to Northern Illinois, which is maybe a feather in the cap to A&M because they were beat and spent, and Northern Illinois got them. But Notre Dame is a team I would not want to play in a playoff right now. That team is playing really well. I mean, across the board, really, really well. Now, they're not, they beat Army. I think Army's better than people think, but they dismantled Army. So I think that first game really nationally kind of took away some of the hype, I guess, around Kyle Field. But David, you've been there. I've been there in big game situations. That place rocks. It's going to be hard. But Texas has played in difficult environments too. So I think this one's going to be at a different level, though. When you said earlier, 13 years it's been since they've played. People were already gassed up for that. Then you throw on top, oh, yeah, the winners go in the SEC championship game. Oh, boy. Now I think it's going to be full throttle, 12th man ready to go. And it's going to have an impact. If it has the impact that we think it can, then across the country, it'll be, man, you see that environment at Kyle Field, and look how it helped the Aggies. But lose that game to Texas, and it'll be the same thing of, well, yeah, it's loud, but look at what Texas did.
Well, Johnny, so let me jump in and ask you this then, Johnny. Does it matter that, yeah, Texas has played in big environments. Notre Dame has played in big environments. Texas this year's Texas team has not played a night road game in the SEC. Does that factor in? Their road games have been Vanderbilt and Arkansas, an 11 a.m. Arkansas game. And so if Auburn at night is a magical place, throw in everything, 110,000 here. That was 88,000 or whatever it was. 110,000 here with everything at stake. And the fact that I don't think Texas has played in a night game, I know they haven't. It's not I think. They haven't. Does that play a role?
A little bit. I should say a little bit. I mean, it does. It plays a role. There's no doubt. A lot of the same team played in a college football playoff game last year. So they've been in big environments.
Yeah.
And if in big environments, you've gone to a silent count, you got the same center and quarterback as you had last year. No, look, will it have an impact at some point in the game? Absolutely. The key is for it to have an impact for 64 minutes. That's a key. You can't let a Texas touchdown just take the air out of that place. Like, oh, man. No, it's got to be full throttle the whole time. And I expect it to be. So I do think it's going to play a role. And I don't want to what you said, David, because you're right. This group hasn't played in that kind of environment. Neither did Notre Dame. And Notre Dame seemingly handled it. So if Texas can't handle it, then the 12th man is legitimately the 12th man. And that's what I'm hoping for. Now, I'm hoping that Quinn Ewers shows up because I think Quinn Ewers against the 12th man will probably struggle a little bit more than Arch Manning maybe. I think Arch Manning probably goes in there cool and calm, and the way he can run the ball and get out of the pocket, I think he can make plays that way. I think Ewers is too beat up to do it. So I think we're going to find out very quickly how Texas does handle that environment, because when they were in that environment of their own against Georgia, they didn't handle it real well. But that was Georgia sticking it to them with a defensive front that could take over a game. Well, I know a defensive front that can take over a game too. It's just a matter of whether they do it or not on Saturday night.
Football Takeover czar, founder, main talent, Houston Texan sideline reporter, my dear friend, John Harris. Appreciate you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, to all the Ags. I would say gig 'em. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but love everybody. Thank you for all the support, buddy. Love you, man. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You too, brother. Love. All right, John Harris there. And I'll be with Raheel. It'll be like a little family over the weekend. We're going to talk about the Association of Former Students, all the good events they have coming up for this awesome weekend experience. Right now, FBS Appliance and their team of experts are here to help you find the appliances that make your house a home. They carry all the top brands and they make your life easier, and they can fit any budget. They've been caring for Texas since 1988 with your favorite trusted appliance brands like Bosch and many, many others. They have expert staff and trained installers to help you, guide you through the process, because FBS Appliance wants to be your trusted appliance store. They have 8 showrooms across Texas. They've got one right down the road from us here in College Station. Visit them online at factorybuilderstores.com. That's factorybuilderstores.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is time to go around the association because the rivalry is back. And it's been a minute since I've talked to Scott and Allison here on the program. We've got Scott Walker, class of 90, Vice President. Allison Siebert, class of 2011, Vice President in the house. Happy Thanksgiving, friends.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
So I want to start with something, then we'll get to some of the other topics. We were talking at the break about Aggie Park. Notre Dame, awesome. LSU, more awesome. Finish the next sentence, both of you. Texas,
off the chain.
Off the chain.
It's unimaginable. Yeah, you mentioned LSU. LSU was such a great atmosphere, so many people, so much going on in the park, just really reinforcing the value that Aggie Park has brought to Texas A&M and to the not just the game day experience, but the whole student life experience, campus visitor experience. It's something else.
It's such a cool place to go and just if you want to tailgate a party, awesome. If you want to go study, awesome. If you want to go for a walk, awesome. If you want to go for a run, it's such a great place, and I love it. All right, so let's get into some of the activities because there's stuff going on, and it's going to be crazy. Let's start off with the return of the rivalry story.
Yeah, so we are really fortunate to have on our staff a terrific Aggie, Sue Owen, class of 94. We've been friends for years before we got the opportunity to work together. And her full-time job at the Association of Former Students is to research Texas A&M and Texas Aggie history and traditions and write really engaging and compelling and accessible stories about those traditions. She's a little bit historian and a little bit author. Those two things, I believe it's a unique thing that she does. I don't believe there's anybody else in the world that has a full-time professional staff member researching A&M at the level of professionalism that she does, and then writing stories that are to the ordinary people. They're not academically inclined. It's stories for Aggies about Texas A&M and our history, and she does a fantastic job of it. We're lucky to have her.
And there's a lot of stories they get into. I'm reading some of these points. 1920, when Bevo was barbecued for the first team's banquet. A lot of stories like that.
Yeah, 130-year rivalry, and it's unlike other rivalries. We were talking to Obi in the hall about LSU, but Texas and Texas A&M is different because it's a family feud, right? A lot of us are going to break bread tomorrow with people who went to school in Austin, and it might be your brother or your boss, or those circles overlap a lot, and so it's a very intense and I think a very personal rivalry. And over 130 years, there's been a lot of things that are worth talking about. A lot of moments. You mentioned the 13-0 branding of the steer, and then the barbecue and all that. That's really interesting. The end of that story is not what everybody thinks it is. It's not what we learned in school. But it's still a great story. All the elements are there, just they don't line up in the order that we were taught that they did. But yeah, I mean, it's great. It's intense college rivalry at its most intense.
All right, let's play the game. Where were you? 2011 for the game. Where were you?
2011 for the game. I was at the Williams Alumni Center.
Yeah.
So watching it on 27-foot Huddleston video wall with 300 of my closest friends.
Allison, you had just graduated, or you were about to graduate?
So I was in a master's program at Texas A&M University.
Okay.
I was about to graduate with my master's in educational psychology.
Okay.
So I was here at home with my husband and watched it. Not there at the game, but yeah.
I was hosting a radio show on Yahoo Sports Radio as the game was happening, so I had to try to be partial, very neutral. I couldn't be neutral after the way that game ended. Allison, let's talk about the fundraising challenge.
Yeah. I'm so excited about this opportunity. We're hosting a rivalry fundraising challenge. Before the Aggies and Longhorns take the field, we're competing. Texas A&M University is competing against the University of Texas for the most number of gifts that we can get. Challenge started on the 21st. It's running right now, and it ends on the 29th, this Friday, right before midnight. And competing again for who can get the most number of gifts.
And the website to do that, by the way, is tx.ag/rivalrygive. And again, it's going to go support scholarships, recognize student programs, financial aid, Aggie traditions, and former student support, and much, much more. tx.ag/rivalrygive. Looking to hire people?
Always.
Always. You guys are just expanding and adding and always looking for great professionals.
Absolutely. AggieNetwork.com.
Go there, click on the careers link. We've got some positions open. We got some great new people coming on board. You'll be getting to meet them soon.
Okay, good.
We're excited. So AggieNetwork.com for Aggie careers. AggieNetwork.com will get you to the rivalry challenge. AggieNetwork.com will get you to the rivalry, the return of the rivalry story. You can read about Bevo and the barbecue. You can read about the bonfire game,
right?
Which was an incredible. Talk about family, right? When the Longhorn band was on the field and they lowered the Longhorn flags and raised the Aggie flags, man, what a moment that was.
That was a moment.
Real respect. So AggieNetwork.com will get you to all of those things. And I want to add to something that she didn't say about the rivalry challenge. This was their idea. Texas approached us and said, hey, we want to do this fundraising challenge in conjunction with the game. And Allison said, well, if you want to lose twice, we can make that happen.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Minimum gift is $5.
Okay.
So again, number of gifts. We're in the lead right now. We have about 1,300 gifts and a little over 93,000 raised. Texas only has 270 gifts. We don't want to just beat them. We want to blow them out of the water.
If you're listening, help, right?
Yes, help. $5.
$5, $10,
Easy.
$20.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And you give as many times as you want.
$12,000, whatever.
Give early, give often.
Give early, give often. Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Appreciate
Happy
it.
Thanksgiving to you.
All right. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, we'll have Max Wright here, chit-chat with him, and I think Leon O'Neal at 9:47. I'm giving you an exact time. That's when we should have Leon. So Leon and Max next on TexAgs Live. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Quickly, Milliken Reserve, a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature, and they've done so. They're dedicated to the conservation of a healthy community, and they have an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds, and gathering areas. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. You can learn more and hang out there, by the way. Go hiking, biking, canoeing, all the great stuff at millikenreserve.com. It is millikenreserve.com. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find Max Wright. Max, good morning, buddy.
Morning. How we doing?
Good. Hey, so you came up in a conversation yesterday. Nick Savage, in fact, hopefully he can grab the microphone and talk about it. We were talking about, do the current players actually understand the gravity of this rivalry? And Nick, what did you say to me?
Yeah, well, I was just like, I don't know if that's, many of the players now do, but I feel like players like Max Wright would just be like, oh, you're in burnt orange, I'm going to run through a MFer's face. Like Max seems like that kind of player.
It's been funny. The office that I'm at right now, there are some UT people here, and this week's been interesting with trying to, stay cordial with people. I think that I really do think that the guys understand the gravity of the situation with the rivalry and where it's at. I'm going to talk to some of them. They are fired up, and they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder that they're ready to kind of let loose on some burnt orange.
So there's the optimistic point of view of like, hey, it's Texas A&M. We'll beat Texas. We've been waiting for this game for 13 years, and the team we've seen most of the year, if they show up, watch out. The pessimistic point of view is, man, they haven't really played well the last few SEC games on the road. So, like, how do you analyze a game with a team that you know so well, because you were in that locker room a year ago? Like, what stands out to you, and what do you think happens?
Yeah, the last few weeks have been a little frustrating, and I think that something you got to keep in mind is road games are always tough in the SEC, and you're right, we haven't played to the fullest of our abilities over the past few weeks. I think that when you look at this weekend and what we're coming into in Kyle Field, I think that I expect this team to get back to being the team that we saw earlier in this year, where they commanded the running game and where they were able to be multidimensional in the offense that allowed them to be so successful. I think that with the things that have happened over the past few weeks with injuries and with, just certain guys maybe not being able to make as much of an impact because of being thrust into new positions, I think that it's kind of been a kind of spinning the wheels, trying to get back on track. Just the offense trying to be more consistent. And, I think that for what we saw in the second half of the Auburn game, we saw how they can put up points effectively whenever they get in a rhythm. It was great to see Noah Thomas come out the way that he did. And I think, the optimistic point of view is, man, if the team that we've seen earlier in the season comes out and plays, it's going to be a great ball game. And I think that the Aggies have a great chance to win. But they have to come out fast. They can't come out slow like they did this past weekend if they want to win the game at home against TU.
Talking to Max right here on TexAgs Live. All right, let's talk offensive line. They've played actually pretty well concerning the injuries that they've had. And I hate saying actually pretty well, because at one point I thought it was, maybe the strength of the team. And with injuries, they've been good. They've been solid. If Basantes comes back, they'll be deeper. They'll be better. And the expectation is he should be back. So just kind of talk about that group.
Yeah, if Chase Basantes comes back, that's a game-changing type of addition to the offensive line. Getting to play with him and play with that kid, he is one of the most freakish talents and young talents for this team that I've ever gotten to experience. He would be a great add to get back, especially trying to go in and play against a team like Texas. Just what he adds physicality-wise, attitude-wise, the experience that he has. It'd be incredible if we could get him back on the line. But for the unit as a whole, I think you're absolutely right. I think, man, you got some young guys who stepped in there, TJ Shanahan, and some other dudes who've had to step up in the space of Mark Naboo and Basantes going down, that have done well and, have given us chances to go out and win football games and to still do well, given all the injuries that we've had. Which, man, it's a breath of fresh air to be able to have some important key guys go down and still be able to produce in the way that we have and run the ball like we have this season. Even losing Mark as early as we did in the season. I think that if if we're honest with ourselves, the O-line's growth from last year has been awesome to see and has been a really great feeling. And I think that, if we get Basantes back this week, this unit could be huge for the success of the team.
So let's just say another guy comes back by the name of Ruben Owens. Okay, let's just say that dude shows up. I think it would be unfair to expect Ruben Owens of last year or Le'Veon Moss of this year level of play because of the injury and lack of timing, and game speed is a different kind of speed. But the threat, the athleticism is definitely there.
100%. That guy is explosive, and he adds a whole new dynamic to the offense. He's a great receiving back out of the backfield, and he definitely creates matchup problems if linebackers have to get matched up on him. So if Ruben Owens does come back, I think you're right. I think that we're going to have to see how he's feeling pre-game, see where he's kind of looking at. He hasn't played football in a few months, and jumping back in against, the number 3 team in the country and possibly the biggest environment that's been in Kyle Field in the past few decades is a big ask. But I think that Ruben is plenty talented and I think plenty mature to step in and be able to produce. And I mean, having Amari Daniels and Ruben back in the backfield to be able to have a 1-2 punch again is huge. And that could really help us establish the run game and help us to win this football game.
Talking to Max Wright here on TexAgs Live. Last thing for you, Max. What's the difference maker in this game? Like, what has to happen?
We have to slow down their offense. We cannot let them get rolling out the gate early. I think that what happened against Auburn cannot happen this week. I think that Texas is too talented in the receiving room and too talented in the backfield for us to go out and allow them to get ahead early. I think that our defense is going to have to step up and play the best football that they've played all season. And our offense is going to have to come out and be dynamic and do what they did in the second half of the Auburn game. I think that when you look at this game and you look at all the things that have to fall into place, both of these teams are going to come out hot and both of these teams are going to come out fired up. It's the team that can maintain and the team that makes the least amount of mistakes that's going to win this football game. Listen, this is going to be one of the most electric environments that has ever graced Kyle Field. And I think that both teams know that and both teams are ready for that. And it's the team that comes in with level heads, who doesn't make the moment bigger than what it is, and who plays the best brand of football, who's going to come out with a win on Saturday night.
Max, I appreciate you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving. There
you go. Max Wright here on TexAgs Live. We'll head a break. I think Leon O'Neill will be back in the next segment, I think. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. If you want a documentary done, well, I mean, why would I say if? Of course you want a documentary done about your dad, right? You want a documentary done about your grandfather, about your family business, about your family ranch, about your buddies that get together and play canasta or dominoes or go hunting together or go golfing together, or that awesome Texas A&M tailgate that you guys have been going to for years. You want somebody to be an eye in the sky and tell that story in a 2-hour documentary form. I know you do. You just didn't know you wanted it because you hadn't thought of it. And now you're thinking about it. You're like, yes, I need to call Chance McClain up and have it set up for maybe a holiday gift. The number is 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341, or go to yourheritagefilm.com. That's yourheritagefilm.com. I hope you're enjoying waking up to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3, 9:48 and 49 seconds. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Caitlin Torn, tell me, people sent texts on time.
They did. They did send some text. Chris in Montgomery said, I like Mike Elko as much as the next Aggie, but how can you have complete confidence in him after losing the Auburn and South Carolina game? I just don't get that. If he would have won both those games, we'd be in the playoff right now. If he would have won one of those games, we would have a great opportunity of being in the playoff with a win this weekend.
Read the first line of that again. What was that first line?
He said, I like Mike Elko as much as the next Aggie.
Okay. And then he said?
But how can you have complete confidence in him after losing the Auburn and South Carolina game?
Let's see how I want to tackle this. People on the boards already said they don't want to hear year one, but I don't do a show for them. I just do the show that I think comes, but year one is part of the conversation. Injuries are part of the conversation. People are sick of injuries. Like, hey, that happens every year. Teams get injured. Yeah, you're actually correct. Teams do get injured and they find ways. Complete confidence? I don't know. You don't have to have complete confidence. I don't know what complete, does anybody really have complete confidence? Anybody? Michael Jordan, Nick Saban, Tom Brady. That's complete confidence. Like, when we talk about complete confidence, like, oh, I know he'll get it done. Isla Nuño, my youngest soccer player, she'll get it done, right? But when it comes to complete confidence, guys, I have apprehension too. It's not about Coach Elko, by the way. My issues are not with Coach Elko. I think, like one of the comments he made at the press conference was like, and I forget how he phrased it, and I don't want to put the wrong words in his mouth. But what he inherited when he came here, there was a lot of great talent, but maybe not the kind of talent, not the kind of ingredients that he wanted, right? And I'll use the chef analogy that's overdone. But you can, a really good chef can absolutely make something out of nothing, right? But he really wants his stuff. Yes, Nick, I can see.
Well, what you're getting at is, I remember him saying there is no elevator to success, right? You got to take the stairs, and I think that's kind of what you're getting at. But I mean, year one is absolutely a valid, thing to bring up in this conversation. If you're asking me, because he only had X amount of time to implement everything, hire coaches, transfer portal, recruit, all that good stuff. So I mean, it's. Oh, I gotta balance that. But anyways, I mean, I just don't get why you can't even give him a chance. Is that what we're doing? We're just not giving chances at all. It's no, but he lost one game or 2 games. Oh, it's done.
But hold on. Complete confidence is a very difficult. I don't know if I have complete confidence in anything. Soccer analogy. So if you hear that in the background, that's people changing the station. Sorry. Real Madrid, you know all about them, right? Nick, you know that's my team, right?
Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid, okay? They've won more Champions Leagues than anybody, all right? They're the Yankees. They're the Lakers. They're the best. Every game I watch them in, I don't have confidence. Even on the years that they've won the championship, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Part of it's because Aggie and Houston sports fan has done that to me. The other part is that is why we love being a fan, the stakes and this and then that. But I recognize people don't want excuses. That I get. Okay. So then what do you say to that? Either you suck or you're great. If you don't want I don't know if I'm not trying to give you an excuse. I'm just trying to give you some reasons why. If those reasons why you believe them or not, that's fine. We're having a discussion
excuses.
Here.
We're here to break things down and talk about things on this show. That's what we do. They're not excuses.
I mean, you could take them as excuses. I don't guys. If I knew the magic buttons to push, I would. Right? Like a ding, ding, ding. All right, championship. Let's go. But that is why we love it so much. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you don't think Billy went home ticked off on Saturday, Nick was here with us. Nick knows. I was. The words that I try not to curse.
I think we should do a giveaway one day TexAgs viewing experience with David Nuño. Watch a game with David Nuño. It would do numbers.
Well, I mean, I think it's watch a game experience with us because if I remember correctly, Nick, you came in grumpy. Then you went really high.
Yeah.
Then you went grumpy.
Yeah.
I came in grumpy because we both came in at around halftime. Well, I watched the first half at my house. I came in grumpy, extremely happy, 4th and 2, elated. Oh, he gets the first down. So look, how will we feel if he beats Texas? By the way, it's a team. It's not only the players on the field, it's a freaking team of coaches. Gave myself an accent there on accident. It was weird. Freaking team of coaches. So look, I have confidence in Coach Elko until I don't. And I hope I never don't, right? I'll admit, this upsets people because some people like to be mad. I had confidence in Jimbo too long. I did. I'm sorry. I had confidence in Connor Wigman too long. I like to see things play out. I like to give it time. I don't believe people who try to, okay, you know what you guys are that are ready to jump off the Elko bandwagon? You're crash dieters. Yeah, you're just trying to diet. If you don't lose 12 pounds in a week, you're done. It's not worth it. I'm going to eat pizza every day. It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It takes time. And the quote again, Nick, was there's no escalator?
There's no elevator to success. You got to take the stairs.
Now, Leon says he can't log in. Interesting. Well, hopefully we'll fix that. But we're going to have to go to recruiting country on the other side.
Well, we got 1 minute. So
yeah, we got 1 minute. Let's try to get another text message in. Because, by the way, the texter who sent that, I'm not complaining about your text at all. I understand the emotions. I get the emotions. I'm just trying, and I don't even know trying. Right now, wait and see. If you lose the game against Texas, I'm not quitting on my love for this team or quitting on I'm not. I still think next year will be great. And if they win against Texas, oh, buddy. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on social media because that's not my thing. I might read a little bit. Caitlin?
William Gillespie says, we've given up too much yardage to two of the best backs in the SEC in the South Carolina and Auburn games. Sips backs are not as dominant. Best back is 106th in the nation.
I know those numbers. I just can't believe those numbers until I see something different. All right, we'll hit a break here. Bronathan coming up next on TexAgs Live. Everyone, David Nuño here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. And we're back on the show that we call Recruiting Country on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Bronny's in the house. Ryan Brauninger. Hey, what's up, man?
If you would like to sponsor this segment, we're currently entertaining offers. You can get your company logo on our NASCAR that I'm wanting. Hopefully, I can get this thing like for Christmas for the studio.
A little NASCAR.
Just our NASCAR with all of our sponsorships on it, so you'll have your little space
That'd
on the
be pretty
NASCAR.
cool.
And then we'll talk about your company and how great it is. So
Yeah, I think
I'm up for sale.
You're up for sale.
Like, well, my time is up for sale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not selling myself like some people.
You're not a man of the streets, is what you're saying.
Right. Right. Not a man of the streets.
I'm from the streets. The mean streets of A-Leaf.
Well, A-Leaf, there are some, you can make an argument, but I
lived in the Huxtables part of, yeah, it was actually, but the school I went to, a little gangster.
So yeah, if you want to be a part of this program, email us.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving. I look forward to Thanksgiving. Here's what my plan, and I don't know if you'll appreciate this or actually hate this. So let me run my agenda by you for the next few days. Okay. The plan right now is for my family to eat in Southeast Texas tomorrow at 2:00.
Okay.
So today, when I leave here, I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to, after gym, obviously protein shake, and then I'm going to try to eat at 2:00 today, 24-hour fast into Thanksgiving.
Why the 24-hour fast?
Just to make myself feel better about what I'm going to do, bludgeon myself at the Thanksgiving table. And then after Thanksgiving, right as soon as I'm done eating, 20-minute walk as soon as I'm done, right?
Smart play.
And then
digestion. Yeah.
And then if I can do another 24 hours after the meal, I'll do that too. It's going to be
Why
tough.
do you say the word if? You can and will.
Well,
if you
the
want.
problem is I'm covering 2 games on Friday at NRG. The first one starts at 10, and then the next one's at 2. When you cover games, it's a ton of walking.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get pretty hungry. I can do it. I'm just going to be a cranky boy probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm cranky at all times. Well, got a lot of stuff to get into recruiting wise.
Yeah, big update on the site last night.
I saw
that.
that.
Last couple of days have been posting up. We're only 7 days out from signing day now.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in our content meeting, little peek behind the curtain yesterday, our content meeting, we said, hey, we probably got to plan our signing day show. How is it going to go? A lot will be determined by the result this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If A&M is playing in Atlanta, then that Wednesday show, the chunk of it will be devoted to obviously covering that game. But next Wednesday, like always, a massive chunk. So either all 3 hours or 2 hours are going to be devoted to signing day.
But there's more.
We don't have a time locked in yet, but I'll tell people that myself and Billy, maybe Billy for the full time, I don't know. But we're going to have something to recap the day in the evening, whether it be from 4 to 6 or 5 to 7. We'll go live on the site. We'll go live on YouTube so people can tune in. And we should be putting a bow on the day. Now it's a signing window, so they can start signing on Wednesday morning, and it can run all the way to Friday evening. We anticipate most of it being done by Wednesday evening in terms of getting the signatures from the kids that they've currently got committed.
Right.
There are some scenarios where we could see Thursday, Friday happen for some late signatures, especially kids that they're trying to close out on. But the vast majority of them will be done probably by Wednesday night. I miss the old signing day. Like, we would be up here, we would go live on the site at 7 a.m., go all the way to 11. The first hour, no commercials. I think you've been a part of that a couple of times. But when there was just one signing day, that was like Super Bowl Sunday for myself, Jason, Billy, a lot of folks in the company. We'd come up here, we'd have breakfast delivered, and so the signatures would start rolling in at 7 a.m.
Yep.
Now, because you have a signing window, not a signing day, a lot of this stuff is waiting till later in the afternoon. So we wanted to come back, after everybody's had a chance to have their signing day ceremonies at their schools, to come back and break down the class that evening. So that will be the goal or the purpose of that extra 2-hour kind of drive home, happy hour, rush hour, whatever you want to call it, next Wednesday from either 4 to 6 or 5 to 7. We'll start promoting that this weekend.
And, a late afternoon / evening show is going to be happening. By the way, if you have questions for Bronny, we'll do it on the other side, 979-693-1150. That is the Little Sluggers text line, or you can call us up on the Boss Firearms hotline as well. Rodney, the question that you're going to get probably multiple times is about quarterback in this class.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had an update yesterday. I don't know how much we can go, into it here.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, before we start talking about the quarterback recruiting, do you want to be pragmatic about what the situation they're facing, or would you rather scream into the void of emotionally scream into the void because they lost Hassan Longstreet? Let's start there.
I don't like emotionally screaming unless my team lost the game and then I want to break something.
Okay, so then you're a part of the people that the vast majority of responding to my update yesterday were those people.
No. Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
Well, A&M lost the football game last weekend. So everything burnt down and you lost your five-star quarterback. And so
I kicked a trash can potentially and then I moved on. It's quick.
Okay. What I'm saying is, and this is what I have maintained since Hassan Longstreet decommitted. Number one, it's a punch in the gut.
Yep.
Nobody's hiding from that. Nobody's saying that it wasn't a big loss in the recruiting class. You put all your eggs in the Hassan Longstreet basket. An out-of-state five-star kid just up the road from USC. You put all your eggs in that basket from the get-go. And we praised Colin Klein for it. He went out there. It was a tough get. He identified him, and he got him. Only for, 17 or 18 days away from signing day, you get burnt by it. Now, hindsight's 2020. You can go back and say, well, maybe they should have looked at Keelan Russell and Duncanville harder, or any of the in-state crop of quarterbacks harder, because you just saw it happen with Bryce Underwood at going to Michigan. He's a kid from right outside Detroit. He's committed to LSU. When the homeschool comes calling with a lucrative NIL package, all that work that you've done to get him in your class and keep him in your class goes by the wayside like that. And I don't know if you watched the video that Dave Portnoy put out about how all that went down. It is insane numbers to that NIL deal. I don't think Hassan Longstreet's getting that, but I do, from what I understand, think it was a very lucrative deal to keep him home 10 minutes from his or 25 minutes from his high school in Southern California. So you put all your eggs in that basket and you got burnt by it. Now, again, when you're sitting here today and looking at it, hindsight's 2020, you can be critical of that, right? But that's what they chose to do. And Colin Klein got a lot of praise for doing that. Rightfully so. That was a tough get from the get-go. And you got him in the summer and you held on to him until you didn't. So now that's a tough situation. It's a bad situation. But what are you going to do? You got to make the best out of a bad situation, correct?
Correct.
So I've scoured the state of Texas and across the country to look at quarterbacks, viable options that they think, A, are going to be good players that can help their recruiting class, that can help them win football games in the future, and B, aren't going to be problems in the locker room, right?
Correct.
That's what they're looking at. And there's been a lot of questions asked about portal quarterbacks. I think that a portal quarterback addition is viable if they meet certain criteria. Like, I don't think that you're going to go into the transfer portal. I don't know, but I don't think they're going to go what you would call big game hunting.
Right.
Like a Cam Ward or a Dylan Gabriel, that kind of thing. I think they believe in Marcel Reed. He's obviously shown signs of progression, getting a little bit better every time he goes out and plays, and we'll see what happens this weekend. But, I mean, if you upset Texas this week and you go play for an SEC championship game, it's hard to not say that, hey, Marcel Reed is our guy.
Yeah.
And then Miles O'Neal is the backup. Potentially. We'll see what happens with the quarterback room in the offseason. You can think things are going to happen. You can prognosticate on things that are going to happen with the way the room's going to look, but you never really know until after the season. But you have to prepare for all circumstances. So they went into the high school ranks, and I do think even if you bring in a portal quarterback, I do believe that you still need a high school guy, right? Because if you go get a portal guy that's still only 3 quarterbacks, scholarship quarterbacks on your roster, Miles O'Neal would be going into year 2. That's if Jalen Henderson leaves, Connor Wigman leaves, or Miles O'Neal leaves, and one of those other two stay, whatever. I think the goal is going to be 4 quarterbacks, scholarship quarterbacks, if you can get them. So I do think that it is important that they find a prep quarterback to bring in. They went through all that tape of all those names that I mentioned: Adam Schobel, Ty Hawkins, Ed Griffin. There was one more. Chad Werner was one. Austin Carlisle was one. And then Eli Morkos. And from what I've been able to gather, the one that has stuck the most out of all those, I think they reached out on just about every one of those kids. They reached out on Keelan Russell at Duncanville. We didn't think that there was much of an avenue for them to wedge their way in this late with that kid, and we were right. Like, they called, and I think he's set on going to Alabama, and that was on Keelan Russell. So they went back in, they scouted the entire state, and I do know that they've had multiple conversations with Eli Morcos at Montgomery Lake Creek and his inner circle. I also know that there are other SEC schools now sniffing around that kid. I told you about his senior tape. And the way quarterback recruiting happens, and everybody's like, well, this was a common response, a common refrain from people that read my update last night was like, are we really going after a kid committed to Tulsa? That means to me, if you just say that, you're not willing to go watch the tape. And if you are, you're going to watch it with an axe to grind. So there's a preconceived notion of what it's going to look like, and you're going to view it through that lens when you watch it. If you didn't know anything about the kid, where he was committed beforehand, and you just watch the senior tape, your eyes would tell you a different story. And there's a reason why all these schools now that haven't been in the quarterback market in the SEC that are now in the quarterback market are starting to circle Eli Morcos because that tape is really good. We'll see what happens. A&M hasn't gone out in the way of an offer yet.
Yeah.
But the communication has started, and it started from a couple other SEC schools. So we'll see what happens with Eli. But it's one of those deals is, he's a kid from right down the road, and is that a reason why you take him, or is that a reason why you pull back the reins? Like, there's some risk mitigating that you're trying to go through, right? Like cost analysis of the whole thing. But the reason why he falls through the cracks is because everybody makes decisions. First of all, I think everybody makes decisions on recruiting way too early in a kid's high school career. But by the time a kid finishes his sophomore season, we're talking about this kid's for sure 5-star. Well,
we don't know.
We don't know that yet. Like, there's still so much. He's got half his high school career to play. So what happens, and especially at quarterbacks, is that's the one position that you want to go out and get done in the summer.
Right.
I want my quarterback for that class. Well, Eli Morcos, in this case, he hasn't, or it's any other quarterback, but I'm just using Eli as the example. Eli hadn't gone out and played his senior year and looked the way he did. So if his senior tape was his junior tape, this is a whole different discussion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everybody starts filling up their classes. The power programs start nabbing their quarterbacks, and based off junior film. And then A&M hasn't been in the quarterback market, hasn't talked to another quarterback in how long? Same deal with Oklahoma, who just had their guy from the state of Texas flip to Florida State. Same deal with LSU. These schools that you would consider power programs have not even been in the market in so long. So all of these quarterbacks that are highly rated or committed to other places, like they don't have any relationships with those kids. So now you're trying to figure out what's the kid looking for? What kind of kid is he? What's his inner circle like? Who are the important people in his decision-making factors? What is important to him in a school? Is it education? Is it NIL? Is it proximity? Is it competition? Is it playing time? You've got to figure all that out in a very short window of time now. So that is what the coaching staff is doing, not just with Eli Morcos, but with all of those kids that I listed. So are we up against the break?
No, you got time.
Okay. So that is one possibility. Yes, they haven't offered Morcos yet. They haven't offered any of that group yet. None of those kids that I listed hold an offer from A&M currently. So until that happens, I don't think that we are going to definitively go one direction in the state of Texas. Now, another possibility that I mentioned last night is a kid like Brady Hart, who's from Cocoa, Florida. He is class of 2026. Florida has a very interesting rule. They call it the Tim Tebow rule, where you can be homeschooled, but also play for a public high school. Right? And so that's Brady Hart's scenario. He's a class of 2026, but he's homeschooled. Because he's homeschooled and he's a really high academic kid, his process is sped up. And there's been a lot of speculation on message boards, on social media, about him reclassifying. And those started bubbling up whenever it looked like LSU was going to keep Bryce Underwood. Brady Hart's committed to Michigan. So Michigan was the one saying, hey, maybe we can get this kid to reclass because he's so far along academically, and he can be our class of 2025 quarterback. So when Michigan started reporting that, everybody started going, well, maybe I want to. If he's class of 25, and especially after Bryce Underwood flips to Michigan, if this possibility of him reclassifying is on the table, maybe it's something we should look at. So I think that would be a possibility if the kid chooses to decides he wants to reclass. Michigan, from what I understand, is keen on trying to keep him as their 2026 quarterback now.
Right.
But
would you have to get these guys on campus this weekend?
Yeah, I do think they're going to host a quarterback this weekend.
Okay.
Which one we'll see, but I'm almost certain that they're going to be bringing in at least one prep quarterback this weekend. And then obviously, depending on who that name is, you're going to go, okay, like this is the direction this thing's probably going to go. But it's not as easy as just inviting him on campus and you immediately get him.
Right.
There's so many conversations, like there's so many layers to the Brady Hart thing that it's hard to even predict that he's going to be available to sign because he hasn't reclassified yet. And if he does, he's a really highly recruited kid out of the state of Florida. And I would bet that LSU and Oklahoma or, who also need quarterbacks are going to be kicking the tires there too. So there's a lot in that scenario that still has to unfold. I talked to a source in Florida this morning who said that they were actually 75 to 80% sure that he wasn't going to reclassify.
Okay.
But that's not 100%. So there is that window that's still open. So we'll see. We're tracking that. I'm not reporting anything as fact. This is all kind of hearsay, and I do know that Michigan was the first one that talked about him reclassifying, and then it all switched whenever they got Bryce Underwood as their 2025.
A lot of dominoes moving
Man,
right
it's
now with
crazy.
quarterbacks. Yeah.
It's crazy. And most important position, and again, I think A&M, I think they have to go get a prep quarterback. Whether you think it's a reach or a developmental guy, I say reach. No coaching staff views a kid that they're taking as a reach.
Right.
They see something in him that they can develop and get him on the field, right? The fans like to call those reaches. But I've coached so long and I've been around coaches so much, like, do you really think that Mike Elko, who everything he said since he's been here, do you think that he would take a kid as a reach? Like I'm going to take this kid. I don't think he can help us win games, but we just need a body there.
No,
that's not how this is going to work.
No.
So whether the fan base views it as a
reach,
quote unquote reach, the coaching staff would be taking a guy that they believe that they can develop. And what does that quarterback room look like going forward? That's also something that you have to take into account. Is like, is this kid going to come in and understand that Marcel Reed's probably our guy? And you may have to sit there and learn the offense and get bigger and get stronger. And you're not ready to play right now. Like, I think that's a real conversation that you have to have with whoever you bring in.
We'll hit a break. We'll talk defensive end. We got some other targets to talk about as well. We'll get to your text messages at 979-693-1150. Duck Camp, I love it. You should love it too. It's awesome gear. They fit well. They're made super comfortable, and they're for really all your outdoor activities, right? You can wear it to go to the gym, sure, but you can go wear it for fishing, for hunting, you name it. They've got amazing gear, and it's super comfortable, and it is it's fitted, but it's not super fit. It's not tight, right? It's comfortable fit. And their gear ranges from the New Sun protection line. They've got the Mallard Game Series hats, and they just got awesome clothes. The shorts are awesome. Everything, you'll love it. They have been tested in the backcountry of Alaska to the dove fields. And if you're going hunting, you need to check it out because all the clothes, they decked me out, and I looked awesome. All right, you should see the pictures on one of my pages. Duck Camp gear is made for people who live for the moments out there, whether fish to catch, birds to hunt, a time to kill. Check out the gear at duckcamp.com.
We're going live. And we are back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is still recruiting country. We got Ryan Brauninger here in studio. We talk quarterback. Can we talk?
Well, I'm not done on quarterback.
Oh.
Well, I just want to make sure that, like, again, nobody is saying that the situation is ideal, but they're trying to make the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
And, like, that was my whole point from the get-go. Like, I'm not trying to force any of these in-state guys down anybody's throat. I'm trying to present what they're going through in the hand they've been dealt 2.5 weeks before signing day when you lose in on for the entirety of the cycle. That's where they're at.
Right.
And so how they pivot is going to be interesting and maybe I'm sure this scenario may have been eye-opening for the coaching staff where we go, well, like, maybe in future classes, even if we really like a kid and we got him committed,
we got to go get another one.
Well, or we don't close the door on communication with anybody.
Yeah.
You just, it's a mitigating thing to just keep communicating with other quarterbacks, whether it be in the state or nationally.
So you want to go through a defensive end or?
Well, defensive end's interesting because Toby Hastrop from Katy Maid Creek left A&M out of his top 6. And when that happened, understanding how much he liked A&M and the proximity of the school to Katy, and his sister goes to school here, that led me to believe that A&M Toby's a fantastic prospect. He just started playing real football this year.
Right.
So the developmental curve has still got some, he's still a long way, I think, from playing every day or every down as an SEC defensive end. That doesn't mean that he can't get there and be a high impact player, because I think he can. He's got incredible skill set. He's a really sharp kid. But I think the coach that means to me, when A&M got left out of that top 6, that the coaching staff they like the idea of adding somebody at that position that is a more ready-made, closer to making an impact on Saturday player. And Javion Hilston, coincidentally out of Cocoa, Florida, high school teammates of Brady Hart, who we just talked about, is in that discussion in the high school ranks, but I think that's about it. So, like, it's kind of Javion Hilston or we're going to the portal with that spot.
Yeah.
And when you look at the current roster, again, there's so many things that can happen, but you're trying to project out what next year's roster could look like. You may need instant impact defensive ends.
Right away, yeah.
And so if that's what you're holding it for, then it makes sense. And a lot of this stuff, man, like when they go make decisions on the portal, whether it be at defensive line, offensive line, receiver, will come down to what does the coaching staff think of this current freshman class?
Right.
We know they're high on that offensive line group. It hasn't stopped them from going out and really hitting the offensive line hard in the high school ranks this year. But what do they think of Isaiah Williams at receiver and Ashton Bethel-Roman? What do they think of Kendall Jackson and Solomon Williams and Dalen Evans on the D-line? What they think about those kids and how close they are to being ready to play and helping them win football games in this league will also determine the decisions they make going into the portal, right?
Yeah.
High school recruiting is you still have to go get guys that are going to develop in your program. That's how you change culture. Culture isn't changed by what they did this last offseason where they had to, 24 guys out of the portal. I think that ideally that number is cut in half maybe each year out of the portal.
Yep.
And that your high school guys are how you continue your culture, right? And you start developing guys within your program. So, Nick, quote up, I believe when you guys were talking in the end of the 9 o'clock hour, but Mike Elko said it in his opening press conference, and I've referenced it in a couple of my articles. Like, I get that everybody wants to win now, but the average fan, most fans, 90% of fans have no idea the stuff that he had to undo when he got here. And I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. I'm just saying for him to instill and establish what he wants at this place, there was a ton of work that had to be done. Massive amounts. And so, yeah, it comes down to whether or not he's going to win football games down the road. That will determine his tenure at Texas A&M. But you got to give the guy a little bit of time. There's no elevator to success. You got to take the stairs. So when you take the stairs, there's going to be some tough medicine to take. And last weekend was one of them, right? That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And I'm not up here sitting here saying that Mike Elko is for sure going to be the coach that leads Texas A&M to a national championship. But what I am saying is,
What happened?
I'm just distracted by something that happened in the studio.
The rivalry between you two guys?
It's not a rivalry.
It
I
is.
mean-
No, it is. It is.
Anyway, but what I'm saying is that, like, I'm not up here trying to say Mike Elko is for sure going to win a national championship game. There's so much to be determined between now and then. But you got to give the guy. I have promise about what I've seen from what he's trying to build from a culture standpoint, and like it's just taking care of some of the lowest hanging fruit you can imagine that wasn't getting taken care of, and he is trying to fix it. So, I also have a rant about this narrative that the schedule has been easy. Cupcake schedule, as it's been called on the message board a few times. I went back and looked. This current SEC schedule this year, compared to all the other SEC schedules that A&M has played, is going to fall about right in the middle in terms of difficulty, in terms of opponent winning percentage. The easiest schedules that they've had since they've been in the SEC, 2012 was on the easier side. The easiest one they've ever had, this is just compared on opponent win-loss record, was 2020.
The two really good years. Wow.
Yeah. So again, like everybody looked at the schedule and made assumptions about it being easy at the onset. But look at what Florida's turned into.
Yeah.
Look what South Carolina is. So it's not as now. I'm not saying it's most difficult. If you want to call it, hey, it's manageable. I wouldn't even argue with you if you said favorable. But if you just said manageable, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
But to call it cupcake, I think that's way over the line.
Let's close out here. We've got about a minute on the remaining targets. Lamont Rogers, Michael Fasusi, potentially a skill guy.
Yeah, I do think they are still like a skill guy. So somebody that catches and runs the football. I think they are still working aggressively behind the scenes to add one of those. And then for Fasusi or Lamont Rogers, they would take one or both.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it matters which one they get. Jason's obviously going to be really clued in on those recruitments because they're DFW kids and he's been all over it. But I just believe that A&M is – I think they're going to get one at least. If you could, I could talk myself in a scenario where they get both, but it's more unlikely. But I think they'll get one of the two.
Okay. Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving.
A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, maybe let's talk about trucks. That's the place to start your look, right? You start your search there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet or online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you're looking for a great vehicle, great price point, and of course, trade-in value with extremely amazing, that's not the word I wanted to use, but amazing customer service, right? You go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet where they have complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. They also have free oil changes for the life of your vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet, and it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes. The edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell, short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 3. It's obviously the day before Thanksgiving. We're going to talk to John Comstock, the 13th man. He was among the 27 students that were injured during the bonfire collapse of 1999. He was the last survivor that they pulled out of the rubble. His injuries were so severe that A&M prepared a press release saying that he had passed away, but they never sent it out. And I believe you have that.
Yes, I kept it.
Yeah, you kept that one. John, thanks for coming in, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, obviously, we look at that day with so much horror, and it's amazing that you're here with us. I kind of want to just talk about, like, your life and how you've been. So, can you kind of take us back to the day? And
sure.
I don't want to relive it too much, but, like, let's go back to the day.
Sure. We were, Moses Hall was pulling a double shift, and so we were working 6 to 12 and 12 to 6. And I made the second shift out there. And basically, just when we started and opened the site, they said, climb up as high as you can get. So I got to the top of the 3rd tier and started calling in logs. A buddy from high school was in the swing above me, and he got down at about 2:30 and said, are you coming with me? And I said, I'll be down in a minute, and called in a couple more logs. And then at about 2:42, the structure just swayed and went. And the only time I had to do was, thing I had time to do was grab the logs in front of me and ride the structure down.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So was there anything that kind of gave you a hint that something was happening? Like, were there any noises, anything?
No, nothing like that. It basically just swayed and then went. And the higher up you are, the less room you have to stand on. So I had about 2 coffee can worth of logs to stand on. So, like I said, there was just nothing to do but just grab the stuff in front of me.
As it's happening, and when you finally hit the ground, did you think you had passed? Were you conscious of everything happening?
Yeah, I was aware that everything had happened. I mean, I was only knocked out for a few seconds. So when I came to, it was kind of like the initial panic of everybody kind of running around trying to find people. So somebody kind of came up and grabbed my hand, and it was actually a really good thing because it put me in a calmer state because somebody knew where I was.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How long were they trying to get you out?
It took about 7.5 hours.
Wow.
They had to get everybody else out below me because everything is wired in together. And so they had to get everybody else out below me without disturbing the stuff where I was at. So,
did you think you were going to survive?
I wasn't sure. I thought I might be paralyzed because I couldn't feel my legs. But I think I was like 19 at the time. So when I got out and made it to 7.5 hours, I thought, I'll be fine now. I'll make it. And then when I got to the hospital, I realized like there were so many people working on me that I was like, I might be in trouble. So,
what did you think at the moment? Like, I mean, just what happened? Like, it just must have collapsed. It must have just broken down.
You know, it's weird. We never really thought it would collapse like that. I know it slumped over in '94, but I guess we were just kind of in shock that the whole thing had went down like that, and really wasn't sure what to think at that point. I mean, just really try to be as polite as you can and say, please hurry, you know, and the firefighters did what they did, so.
What does this time of year mean to you? I mean, it's Thanksgiving, it's a reminder, your life was altered forever. Just take me through that.
It's a difficult time of year. I guess the 5-year anniversaries are a little bit more difficult. But it's kind of something that happened 25 years ago. And, you know, life moves on, and you know, I think for all of us that were involved in that, try to do the best we can to just get through that time of year and then spend time with family for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's kind of dark, but it also has like the hint of overtones of the holidays. So,
and now that the return of this rivalry, right? It's been 13 years, and this is where, you know, when we think about Bonfire, we don't think about LSU. We think about the game against Texas. Just any additional emotions or thoughts that it's back, and you know, in your place in this story?
I'm hopeful. I always think about the last game we played, which is hilarious because I have it on like VHS tape, and that was just an amazing game. Like they said, the Aggies could have beaten anybody that day, and so you know, just holds a special place for me. The rivalry. So,
so take me through your life afterwards. So you came back to A&M later, right?
I did about 2 years of community college, did rehab and the hospital stuff, and then I came back to A&M, went back to Moses Hall, and just kind of slogged away at 12-hour semesters until I finally graduated. That took about till 2010 is when I graduated, and then spent some time on the job search, and then finally found a job at A&M Systems. Worked there as a financial specialist for them, and met my now wife, and she already had a 5-year-old son, and we recently just added another one, so I have a 9-month-old.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
What does A&M mean to you?
It holds a special place for me. I know, with the collapse, it kind of it was definitely a difficult thing, but I've always loved A&M and wanted to come back and get my ring. I know people had sent me some of their rings and had said, take mine, and I said, no, I'm going to come back and get mine. And so it was really special. Neither of my parents had graduated college, so it was a big deal for me to finally get my ring and get my degree.
And what did this all do to your parents?
Well, my dad had passed away when I was 17, and then I lost my mother many years later. I want to say maybe about 5 to 10 years after the collapse.
Okay.
And that was probably the most difficult one because she was kind of my support base and was always there for me with rehab and getting me to and from where I needed to go. So that was a tough one. But life moves on. I ended up getting married and having kids and having a family on my own. So I kind of went from having nobody to having a full family.
And when you go out and about, you're a motivational speaker at times, right? You do the
I've gone out and done some speaking.
So what?
Well, with the collapse, it's funny because I can kind of segue into almost any message with the collapse, but I normally just tell the story of how I kind of became known as the 13th man and use it as kind of a way to help people through their dark times and to persevere, and that, mindset and attitude and, it kind of depends on the venue, on on what I speak about, but for the most part, I just tell the story of the collapse and hope that it can inspire somebody else.
And do you recognize that you do inspire folks? Like, is that like, after all these years, I mean, people talk about you all the time. If you go on our message boards around town, like people are very aware of your story. And do you, I guess, capture that? Do you feel it?
I don't really, because I'm just a regular guy, and I just see myself as a regular guy, and so I really don't. But I'm glad to help people if they need to be inspired. So,
well, hopefully the football team inspires us all this weekend. You're going to be watching?
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
John, thank you for coming in. Happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate your time, sir.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. The 13th man, John Comstock, here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short segment on the other side. Get you ready for Thanksgiving and all the programming we will have for you tomorrow. Right now, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. It's time to show the power of that Aggie network. Before the Aggies and Longhorns step on the field on November 30th, A&M and Texas are hosting a rivalry fundraising challenge. The challenge is simple. It started last week, running through 11:59 Central on November 29th. The university that receives the most donations wins. And Scott was here earlier. And Allison, make a gift now. tx.ag/rivalrygive to help A&M win this challenge. After you make your gift, spread the word to as many Aggies as you know to get this thing even bigger. Donations for A&M will go to the Association of Former Students to support scholarships, recognize student programs, financial aid, Aggie traditions, former student programs, and much, much more. Again, go to tx.ag/rivalrygive to make a gift and help A&M win this rivalry fundraising challenge. It is the Association of Former Students.
We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Final segment before Thanksgiving. And let's go through the checklist of tomorrow, Nick, because we're going to have some programming tomorrow on...
yeah, we're working on Thanksgiving. We don't take days off.
I mean, are we working?
We're working.
You know what? Technically, we are working. You know why we're working?
Why?
We're going to be watching football.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that your job makes you sit at a desk and do math. We get to sit at a desk and watch football. That's what we do. So we're going to be
What are you
working.
talking about? What do you mean? Oh, I see. I get what you're saying.
Like
I thought-
others. Like,
yeah,
it is a job. I'm sorry.
yeah.
And I know it's not, it's not glamorous to watch football all the time and basketball and talk about it with your friends. Like, I get it. But we'll be working on Thanksgiving. But we're also going to have a show.
Yep.
A look live.
Is that what they call it in the biz?
That's what they call it in the biz.
In the big biz?
The big
yeah,
biz. You know,
well,
I don't know if you know this. Big time reporter.
Well, we got the Go Hour with UNOB, of course, and joined by Kirk Bowles, columnist for the Houston Chronicle, covers the University of Texas. So we get his insight on how things are going to shake out this weekend. Got a whole hour of the fan show. Probably, I agree with you, David, probably the best fan show I think we've ever shot.
Yeah.
And all it took was this game coming back. So
Browning, Roy,
yep.
Dr. Chad, they all were like, I was like, man, I got to get up for this game. Like, I thought I was bringing it. I'm not bringing like these dudes.
Yeah, they did great. We also have some luchador content going to be mixed in there, and maybe some Jim Turner, maybe some Lone Star look back.
Why do you say maybe?
Maybe. Just, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean,
you got to tune in to find out.
Jim Turner's showing up any minute.
Oh.
I hope.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe. So, yeah,
see.
we'll have all that. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Caitlin Torn's got some text messages to read.
Yes, I do. The first one we have is from Brad and Brian, and he says, assuming that Ruben is back on Saturday, how will his presence impact the run game, even if his play is limited?
I like that question. He's a threat, so you got to think about him. I'm sure the little hints that we have, that Coach Elko has given, he practiced a little bit, those hints. I don't want people to expect, 20 carry Ruben Owens, 147 yards, right? But the simple fact that he's an athlete, that if you give him a chance, he could do something dangerous, that's something they're going to, can you imagine Ruben and Terry Bussey lined up out there doing their thing? Like, it's just athletes that can do something. But I don't want to put too much on Ruben Owens of him being a savior like Le'Veon Moss, right? I don't want to do that, because if we do that, I think that's unfair to him. It took Jabri Barber some time to come back and be himself. It takes time. When you have, injuries at the level that Ruben had, it's not like an overnight thing. The first game, you're trying to get your rhythm back, your timing. It's yes, you can practice, but it does not replicate what a game feels like. Kayla, I'm going to come to you here again in a second, but I want to read about Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance, and they've got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but they got offices all over the place. All you need to do is go to rolloinsurance.com to learn more, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs to start a conversation with your personal agent today. 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Torniak, what else do you have for us?
After our text that we read in the last segment about Elko, Tayag and Taylor says, year one is a definite. Look at Saban and Sark, year one for context. I'm as disappointed as the next Aggie about losing the last two ball games, but in context, I'm extremely hopeful with Elko going forward. We have a chance to go to the playoffs, so beat the hell out of TU.
Everything's a moment in time, right? Because I guarantee you, after the LSU game, the text messages, because I remember we read them on the show.
Yep.
They were like, dude, like, this is the guy. Like, it's never as bad as we think. It's never as good as unless you win the whole darn thing, right? Like, then it's everything we signed up for. But it's probably somewhere in the middle. And I think Coach Elko had a point when I asked him on Monday about, these slow starts. And he's like, it's a different thing each time. He has gone to the lab the way many times Buzz Williams has and addressed the problem, fixed the problem. And look, I think we're going to see better tackling. Is that dumb faith? Probably. It's probably dumb faith. All right. But you're going to watch the game. You're going to be with your family this week. Like, why be a miserable human being? Like, just enjoy the moment. Like, because if you don't, Like, because there are people out there that if A&M wins, yeah, but you're going to lose to Georgia. Enjoy the ride. Like, it is.
I agree.
This is. We all would have signed up for this at any point. Now, I wouldn't have signed up for 2 straight losses in November, SEC losses, and I wouldn't have. That sucks. But being in this position, a chance to win your 9th game in year 1 with Coach Elko, a chance to beat your rival that you hate on the last day of the regular season, and oh, by the way, punch your ticket to the SEC championship game, something you haven't done ever. You haven't been to a conference championship game since 1998 when I was in freaking college. When I was how old are you?
21.
I was your age?
Yep.
Why did I say it like that? Like a valley girl with a deep voice. Did you notice that?
A little.
Sign me up for it. Now, for it to be this awesome climb to the top, it's got to hurt when you lose. And that's why the last couple losses, especially because what's so possible. God, if we would have done this. And I'm just like you guys. I'm so sick of like being a play away or this away or that away. Oh, my gosh. It's part of the process. And hopefully this regime is the one that figures it out. And at the moment, I have faith. And I'm going to continue having my faith. Let's try to get one more in.
Randy in Frisco says, if TU has not played anyone and they're not as good as their ranking, then just beat them at home at night with the 12th man. What else Elko said was be about it, not just talk about it.
Look, I think all things can be true. Texas can be good and have played nobody. That could be true, right? Texas can be a program that's played in these high-level games before and done well. They haven't walked into here before, like in this level of A&M, this SEC version of A&M. They haven't played a night game this year on the road. Should matter. All those things should matter. But at the end of the day, got to execute. And I'm sorry to use that term. You got to finish the job. You got to play 4 quarters of football. All the cliches you want to use, get them all together. They've got to go do it. And let's be on the positive side for when they do it. We can all be like, yeah, remember, David, I was with you when you had that, fake little rant. Right? Be on the good side. It's all about being on the good side. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Wednesday. As we mentioned, tomorrow on the program, we will have not a live show, but a news show, something you have not seen. We'll have that for you tomorrow. So when you wake up, instead of watching, I don't know, is it Scooby-Doo, like flying through the air in New York? Is that who they have? Yeah, that's a cool show.
Yeah.
I get it.
You don't need to watch that, though.
But when they do like the little performance of the music that you don't like, flip it over. Watch us, or just watch us anyway. All right, you can DVR that and watch it another time. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live. We will see you kind of mañana and for sure on Friday.